honor rounds, and we're going to begin in the walk trot division for the World Championship now in the 11 and under riders. Your reserve world champion, it's 106. Here's Avery Weiss aboard the nice entry Ultra's Forbidden Twist. State of Kansas is home and trained by Cheryl Manahan. World champion now for the 11 and under walk and trot equitation riders. From Kansas City, here's Emma Wyckoff. Trains with Kent Swalla and Glendale Stables. Congratulations, Emma Wyckoff, the 11 and under world champion. We move now to the Walk Trot Saddle Seat Classic Equitation and welcome in our reserve champion from New Hampshire now. This is Emily Coldizet. Emily, congratulations. She is aboard Salem Front and Center, trained by Sarah Gove, Ellie Stevens, and John Whalen. World champion from that 9 and under division for the Walk Trot Saddle Seat Classic will be entry 320. Here's Heidi DeRusso. She rode CBMF Ceasefire, a grand champion under the direction of David Rand and Cindy Meunier. This entry also won the Walk Trot Hunter's Seat Equitation World Champion, riding Playmore's Jukebox Hero. So multiple world champions. Up next, here's a world champion and a special story tonight. This is Ashley, I believe it is. Here's Ashley Baron, and Ashley was the champion now in the Walk Trot Saddle Seat Classic Equitation for the 10 and under. She rides the wonderful horse Boogie Nights, a grand champion. Entry is owned by the Overtime Farm of East Aurora, New York, and trained by the Caters Stables. A very nice backstory. Boogie Nights, this is his 11th world title, and this will be his first world title in the equitation division. And ladies and gentlemen, at 23 years of age, this will be his final trip in the show ring as he retires at the highest level for the Caters and all of the connections over the years of Boogie Nights. 23 years of age, 11 world titles, and says goodbye to our show ring. Here's Eleanor Zobel now. This is entry the reserve world champion from the Hunter's Seat Equitation, board Bravissimo, trained by Kristen Tramposh. Here's Eleanor. Here's entry 241. Now this is the reserve world champion from the Walk Trot Hunter's Seat Equitation division for the 10 and 11-year-olds. This is Evelyn Peterson aboard Sarah and Rex Harrison. She rides for Bert and Karen Earhart and the Red River Valley Enterprises of Wisconsin. We move now to the world champion for the Walk Trot Western Seat Equitation for the 9 and under entries and introduce Ella Kate Payne. Ella Kate Payne, the world champion from the Western Seat Equitation 9 and under. This entry is Delaware's Nightlife, owned by Berkeley Shingledecker of Michigan, trained by Tricia Wacklina. Here's Olive Scarlett Carr. This is the reserve world champion in the Walk Trot Western Seat Equitation for the 10 and 11-year-old riders. Entry is Cum Laude Philadelphia, and the entry is owned by Michael and Amber Lombardi of Portland, Maine, trained and instructed by the Society Hill Farm of Spencer and Adriana Day. Here's 596 now, Madeline Wills, the world champion in the Walk Trot Western Seat Equitation for the 10 and 11 years of age. Mary Lutke, Marietta, Georgia is the owner, and she is trained, Madeline is, by the Sterling Training Center of Mary Lutke and Heather Lutke Estrada. Here's a reserve champion in the Western Seat Adult Equitation. It is 817. It's Kayla Powell's land. She rides for trainer Suzanne Haberek. Kurt and Terry Rumens of Washington, the owners. 405 is our champion now for the Western Seat Adult Equitation. We introduce Ashley Wingate and Imperious. Entry owned by Brian and Christy Wingate and trained by Shaughnessy Morris. Here's entry 133. 133, the reserve champion for the Western Seat Adult Equitation, Kelly Connolly. She rides for Tammy Levesque. Kelly makes her home in Sandown, New Hampshire. 619 champion from the Western Seat Adult Equitation at 36 and over group. It's Jessica Balsis aboard the entry Take the Stars from Benton Harbor, Michigan, trains with Mary Carlton. Also the Saddle Seat Adult Equitation champion and the Hunter Seat Adult champion. All of that on 3 different horses trained by Mary Carlton, Jessica Balsis, an equitation star. Here's your reserve champion from the Hunter Seat Adult Equitation for the 18 to 35-year-old group. This is Alyssa Erskine, and she is aboard the entry MLB Stage Door Johnny, another winning and world champion. This the reserve for Mary Carlton. Here's Haley Broach from riding the horse, Cedar Farm Lancelot, GCH. And there's another world champion from the Crystal Farms and Mary Carlton. Mary Carlton, you've had a wonderful week here in Oklahoma City. We move now to the reserve champion for the Hunter Seat Adult Equitation, 36 and over. Here's Lisa McTeague. She is the owner, Saratoga Springs, New York, trained by Paige and Amy Champion. Congratulations, reserve Hunter Seat Adult Champion. Here's the reserve champion now for the Saddle Seat Adult Equitation, 18 to 35. Here's Ella Zemer. She's aboard Audacious. The entry is owned and trained by Joel and Nicole Zemer of Wisconsin. Champion from the Saddle Seat Adult Equitation, 18 to 35. Here's Caitlin Jackson. Caitlin Jackson and Gary Raymond, the owners in Des Moines, Washington, trained by Ann and Frank Miller of Southern California. We move now to the reserve champion for the American Morgan Horse Association Saddle Seat Equitation, the gold medal final. This is the champion now from that division and an equitation star. We introduce Dawson Archibald. She's aboard the beautiful Morgan horse, BRMF Lalani's Fireball. Entries owned by Dawson in Wichita, Kansas, trained by Todd Miles and Company. Also the UPHA Challenge Cup Senior champion and the Saddle Seat Equitation 14 to 17-year-old champion as well. Been quite a year for this equitation star, Dawson Archibald. Here's 8:30, the reserve champion for the UPHA Morgan Junior Challenge Cup, Lacey Jett. She is the entry is stylish debut. Entries owned by Cameron Kay, West Bloomfield, Michigan. David and Kristen Cater are the trainers and instructors. Jacqueline Schatzberg joins us now wearing 874. It's the UPHA Morgan Junior Challenge Cup. She was aboard Queens Overruled. The entry is owned by Carrie Ann Adamek, trained by Todd Leslie and Macy Miles. And Jacqueline's had a great week. She was also the Saddle Seat Equitation world champion from the 13 and under division. World champion now from the Saddle Seat Classic Equitation, 13 and under. Here's Alyssa Moore. She is another entry trained by Ann Miller in San Diego, California. Entry is owned and ridden by Alyssa. Here's a reserve world champion from our Saddle Seat Classic Equitation, 14 to 17. Here's Sophie Escaro. She is aboard the entry Johnny Drama. Comes to us from Flemington, New Jersey. She trains with instructor and trainer Alicia Owens. Here's your world champion from the Saddle Seat Classic Equitation, 14 to 17. It's Zoe Roberts aboard Cedar Creek, Kalahari. Zoe is the owner, trains with Alyssa Wick. Congratulations to Zoe Roberts, a world champion. Here's entry 253 now. We move to the champion for the Hunter Seat Equitation over fences, 17 and under. And this is Andrea Arcia. She is on aboard the entry, Cinco de Mayo, Entry is owned by Andrea and Amelia Arcia of Canton, Georgia. Another winning entry, a champion with Tricia Wacklina. Here's 336. Champion from the American Morgan Horse Association Hunters Seat Equitation on the flat, the gold medal. It is Rachel Winograd, daughter of Ann and Glenn Winograd, trained by David Rand, Cindy Meunier. Also the UPHA Morgan Senior Challenge Cup Reserve and a World Champion Hunters seat on a Rimfire. Reserve World Champion Saddle Seat Equitation on Lock and Load. Here's 632 now. It's Madeline Burkett of Horse Riding Air Force. Mary Carlton is the instructor and trainer. Here's Berkeley Shingledecker, 913, world champion from the Hunters Seat Equitation on the flat. For the 13 and under riders, Berkeley, a very accomplished equestrian, also the AMHA Hunter Seat Reserve champion on Slam Dunk. Here's 811 now. This is the Reserve World Champion for the Hunter Seat Equitation on the flat. Sarge Jellerson for the Jellerson family of Washington, trained by Suzanne Haberek. World Champion from the Hunter Seat Equitation on the flat. Here's 743. Annabelle Crotty makes her home for Diane Lentz in Castleton, Virginia, trained by Sarah Gove, John Whalen, Ellie Stevens. Here's 661 now. This is the reserve champion for the American Morgan Horse Association Dressage Seat Medal, and it is Evan Duncan. She rides with Triple D Equestrians and Mary Shappy, and Evan was also the reserve champion, AMHA Hunter over Fences, riding Flashpoint. Champion now for the American Morgan Horse Association Dressage Seat Medal. It is 729. It's Marcy McGregor on Hot E-Ticket from Botha, Washington. We moved out of the reserve champion for the AMHA Western Seat Gold Medal. Here is Emmy Craigle Varner wearing 926. Been a great week for this young lady. She is the owner, along with her mom, Kelly Craigle of Oklahoma City, trained by a plethora of instructors. Kelly Craigle, Maddie Fitzgerald DeBee, Melissa Swain Cotton, and Kurt Hufford. In addition to her Reserve World Western Seat Champion, she was the World Champion Western Seat Equitation 13 and under. Here's 501 now. It's Kendall Tipton, champion from the AMHA Western Seat Gold Medal, aboard the great entry Gates of Gold at GCH. Jonathan Gwinnett is the owner, Mounds, Oklahoma, and Jonathan trains as well. Reserve World Champion Western Seat Equitation 13 and under, 775 is Hannah Stewart. She is aboard the entry Highly Spotlight. Hannah makes her home in Newmarket, Minnesota, and trains with Dustin Freiheit. Here's the first of two sisters, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely superstar equestrian sisters. The first is 698. This is Alana Locascio. Alana, the Reserve World Champion in the Western Seat Equitation, 14 to 17 years of age. She's aboard Hollywood Domino, and she trains with her mom, Manya Smalley, and Dreamways South. And here's her sister, Sydney Locascio. They compete, and they are always at the top of their game. In the 14 to 17, Sydney wins the World Championship. Alana is reserve. Zeppelin is the mount that carried Sydney to the world title. Sydney was also the reserve champion in the Hunter Seat Equitation, 16 to 17 on the entry Feel That Fire. Here's the champion from the Western Horsemanship now. It's entry number 33. It's Lisa Hensley. Lisa Hensley of Lutz, Florida is the owner. It's Ariel Meadow Uriel. Janice Scotto serves as the trainer. Here's a reserve champion now from the American Morgan Horse Association, reigning seat medal. And she's also the reserve champion in our fitting and showmanship for the adults. It's Jillian Peak aboard her favorite horse in all of the world, Martha Stewart, GCH. Jillian comes to us from Schuylerville, New York, trained by Lingering Hill Stables. Jillian Peak at Morgan Horse Shows throughout the United States, as well as here at the World Championships. Jillian and Martha Stewart have presented the flag for our anthem and opening presentations. We move now for the fitting and showmanship. Here's your reserve world champion fitting and showmanship, 13 and under. It's 361. It's Paige Torek aboard Robert Mondavi, entry owned by Frank and Ann Miller, Escondido, California. Frank celebrated his birthday with us, trained by Ann Miller. 370 now we maintain in the fitting and showmanship, 13 and under. Here's the world champion. It's Tatum Foster aboard Lady Antebellum. Ann Miller trains the world champion and the reserve world champion in the 13 and under fitting and showmanship. Here's your champion now for the fitting and showmanship for the adults. It is 718. It's Annika Stolt. Entry is owned by Christy Raff in Lake Forest, Illinois. Century Oak Night Moves is trained by Jessica Kavanaugh. Here's Sydney Sartain. Hunter Over Fences winner and the AMHA Hunter Over Fences medal champion as well. Congratulations. What a week for this young rider. I believe we have one more champion to recognize. Here's the final award presentation, I believe. This will be the Reserve World Champion for the fitting and showmanship in that 14 to 17-year-old age group. It is Katie Single. Katie is on the entry. Thank you very much. This is Katie Single. Minions Masterpiece, GCH, is the horse that carried Katie Single to the Reserve World title in the fitting and showmanship. Entries owned by Danielle Nelson of Tecumseh, Michigan, and trained by Lori Marino Beasley along with Becky Bauer. A total of 68 world and reserve world champions in our different divisions of the fitting and showmanship and our equitation for each and every seat offered.